everyone, and welcome back to another stroke. Hello, everyone.
Smell toast.
You're like a everything bagel. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What Was That? I'm Jazzy.
And I'm Addi.
We've all had those moments in life.
Intro.
You keep the whole thing in there. We're hitting an hour, baby.
Just fill it all with useless. All of the stuff that you're going to hear today is just jargon.
Yep.
Hing-a-ding-a-dargan.
Yep. Just hit it with bars and tone. We'll try again.
Over and over again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the What Was That podcast. I'm Jazzy.
And I'm Addi.
We've all had moments in life where we would have done something different if we had known what the outcome would have been.
Yeah, I definitely would not have eaten 8 jalapeno poppers last night if I knew what it would do to me this morning.
And I wouldn't have led you up to that joke if I had known that you were going to make that one.
Well, we all make poor decisions in life, and sometimes you can't change the outcome.
So, let's look at some stories that make you think, if I had known better. Story 1. This is part of a thread. This thread is Tell Me Your Scary Doll Story. It's not necessarily related to the actual toy, but when I was little, I had a really nice modern dollhouse that consisted of room cubes you could stack in different arrangements. Just looked it up, and it was actually the Laura Ashley set like this one. I had multiple room cubes in the picture, so I could stack it taller than myself at the time. I'm autistic and never actually played dolls with the house. I spent more time rearranging the cubes and furniture than anything. My room as a kid always felt off. I never felt comfortable in there, and it was the center of family ghost stories dating back before I was even born. Both my older sisters had the room before me and hated it so much that they moved into the loft space of our house. There's nothing really wrong with it. It got direct sunlight, had 2 large windows, walls were sage green, and my mom decorated it a fairy theme. It just always felt cold and suffocating. Back to the dollhouse. I had it stacked tall and therefore couldn't see behind it as I was sitting on the floor. Then all of a sudden, I just felt this really foreboding presence on the other side of the dollhouse, just like a sense that someone had entered my space. I was too scared to look up and see if there was someone standing there looking down at me from over the dollhouse, so I kind of put my head into the kitchen cube and looked through the window. Okay. What I saw was a child's hand at the bottom of the dress. The child's hand was either black or biracial skin tone. My family is white. From the orientation, she indeed would have been standing on the other side of the dollhouse, looking down at me from over on top of it. I remember just feeling completely frozen. I didn't want to look up to see her, and for some reason, I just didn't want to see her face. So I closed my eyes and literally backed out of my room. As soon as I was in the hallway, I bolted straight to my mom, who said, "Just saw something, didn't you? If you don't want to see them anymore, you don't have to." So that day, I made my decision not to see them anymore. I don't know how, it just kind of stopped happening. Okay, why would you put your child in a room that you know is haunted?
Yeah, right?
If you don't want to see them anymore, just don't.
Yeah, just tell them to stop. I don't think ghosts are that...
What was that?
I don't think ghosts are, like, that forgiving. I mean, I don't know, some are, maybe. You're just like, hey, can you not do that?
Hey, I don't like that.
But can... I'm just thinking about playing with dollhouses when I was a kid, and I am trying to imagine. All I'm seeing is, like, The Conjuring, scenes from The Conjuring, or if you've ever seen The Boogeyman, like the 2005 version,
yeah,
that was, like, the first scary movie I ever watched.
Yeah.
And it was so fucking terrifying to me. I was, like, 6 years old.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have been watching it. But there's that scene at the very beginning of the movie where he has the boogeyman doll on his dresser, and he's laying in bed, and he looks up, and he has, first of all, who the fuck does this? Has a chair in the middle of his room with clothes piled on it, as if somebody's sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Who does that? Right in the middle of the room.
Not me after seeing that movie.
Yeah. Not me in the first place. That's scary as fucking... somebody's sitting there watching me sleep, like... But he looks over, and it moves. Mm-hmm. And then he turns his light on, and it's just closed. And then he turns his light off, and he looks over, and it stands up. Mm-hmm. And he turns his light off, and they drop to the ground. And then he has to hide his doll, because he gets all freaked out, because it starts walking closer. But
There's nowhere I could hide that doll that would make me feel better.
No, I'd get rid of it.
Oh, I would put it in the back of the closet. No.
Yeah, I used to really like dolls when I was a kid, but porcelain dolls always scared the fuck out of me, which is funny because now I love them.
Yeah.
But my dad thought he could buy me off by my love when I was a child.
Yeah.
But he showed up to my birthday dinner when I was a child at the Magic Time Machine, and he was late to my birthday dinner, and he shows up in his car, and he opens up the trunk, and there's like a line of porcelain limited edition Disney dolls.
Okay.
And I was like, what do I do with these?
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't open them because one day they'll be worth money.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm a child, don't understand that concept. So my mom puts them at the top of my closet, and they stayed up there because they also freaked me out. Mm-hmm. And I think we donated them or something.
That was my next question. I was like, are they worth some money?
No idea where they're at.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, going back to the story.
I loved my porcelain dolls. I just thought they were so beautiful. My brother thought they were super creepy. Mm-hmm. I'll send you a picture to put here of me and my porcelain doll. I'm pretty sure I still have her at my mom's house.
That's so cute.
Yep. I understand why they would be creepy. They're a bit unsettling.
Yeah.
But I like unsettling things.
But seeing this, okay, you're a child. Mm-hmm. Let's also put on our imagining hats again. Okay, you're a child. You're in your child's bedroom. You're in your childhood bedroom. Yeah. You're playing with your dollhouse, and you think something's on the other side, and you look through. You don't even get a full view. You look through one of the windows, and you just see a hand.
I would have also closed my eyes and then just slowly walked back.
And peed myself. Probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not probably. Definitely.
There would be pee all over the floor.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've ever experienced anything like that. And I'm like, no.
No.
I don't really have any I mean, my aunt's house that I grew up going to was built in the late 1800s, and it was like a super beautiful old Victorian home, and I love that house. I looked it up, and somebody did the fucking renovation where they paint everything dark blue with gold finishes and stuff, which is really sad because it was so beautiful, and that house was absolutely haunted.
Yeah,
but it was never anything that I saw. It was always just like hearing, you know?
Like a creak.
In the middle of the night, you hear like your name being called, or you hear like a door shut and nobody's home, and you like hear the floor creaking all night long, like somebody's walking up the stairs. But nothing, I never saw anything.
Yeah.
So.
If you've ever seen anything, let us know.
Yeah, I want to know.
I want to know. I want to go down that rabbit hole. It's like, I don't think we'll have time to do it.
Well, I want to know how many people out there like actually see something.
Yeah, see something, like legitimately they see something. It could not be anything else.
Yeah.
This is not a trick of the light.
No.
You saw something.
You saw a full-bodied person. There is, and I want to do an episode on it, but on one of the Reddit threads that we're on, there's a lot of paranormal pictures and videos and stuff of people being like, what is this? And I want to do an episode where we like watch all of them or go through all of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them, obviously. There are
every
thousands.
single. We're going to be there till we die.
Films. Bye. Films. Bye. Films. Bye.
I always wanted a cute dollhouse when I was a kid, but I only ever had like the Barbie ones, or like Polly Pocket, but I never got like a big dollhouse.
Yeah, I wanted a big dollhouse. I had like a Fisher Price dollhouse, and then I had a Hamtaro. It's like a dollhouse, but all the toys were little hamsters.
Oh, that's cute.
It was so freaking cute.
I wanted one of the doll houses that on 13 going on 30.
Yep.
I wanted her dollhouse that Maddie made her so bad.
I would still take that dollhouse,
I still would
honestly.
too. And
Yeah.
I put little sparkles on it. 30, flirty, and thriving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be my 30th birthday party theme.
Cute.
Yeah.
Super cute.
30, flirty, and thriving.
Yeah, that movie and the entirety of Sex and the City, in my head, 30s is not a scary.
Yeah, because that's all what it is.
Yeah, it's all 30s. And I'm like, why are you guys so
Why are you
stressed?
freaking out?
Like,
Yeah. I hate the videos of people going up to other people on college campuses and being like, how old is old? And people are like, anyone born in the 90s. And I'm like,
shut up.
I'm 27 years old.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah. I was watching this thing this morning while I was getting ready about, I think every generation has a big fear of aging. But as a millennial, I will say, first off, you stop making fun of us. Second off, I feel like Gen Z is more scared of aging.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting to watch when inevitably you do hit your 30s. I think there's going to be a few people crashing out from that. But it's not that bad. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's like your 20s with more money.
I'll crash out when I get to my 40s if
That's
we're
how
all
I
still
feel.
alive.
Yeah. I feel like 40s will hit a little harder for me. 50s might hit a little harder. 60s, retirement, baby, rolling out. Maybe.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah.
What do you think this was?
This?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what kind of haunting do you think it was? Do you think it was an actual little girl? Do you think it was something else? What do you think?
Do they say how old they were?
They just said that when they were a kid.
Okay. Because I know as a kid, there are some things I swore I saw, and there's no fucking way that actually happened. Like, I swore that my Simba lion doll, if I moved it just the right way, totally walking. No.
Okay, well that's different though.
Yeah. It was like real strong imagining.
Yeah.
So I want to know how old they were. Because if you really think it's haunted, what if, you know what I think it was? This is going to be patent pending. This is a movie about an imaginary friend that's like trying to like break the barrier, like a true imaginary friend. And then she sees it, she's like, what the fuck? I don't want to see you anymore. That's what I imagine it is. But I never really had an imaginary friend, so I didn't have an experience like this.
Yeah, I didn't either. I played imaginary a lot, but I never had an imaginary friend. But I would play on the playground and be like, "Meow," and like shooting lasers out of my hands or like doing spells, and I'm like, I'm conjuring a big windstorm.
Oh, yeah.
And like my friend would be like, oh,
Yeah.
fall. Yeah, that kind of thing, kid
Yeah,
things.
kid stuff.
Yeah. I see a big old comment there. What's that?
Yeah. So this person asked the same question that we asked after reading it. They said, wait, what? Your mom knew about it? And what did she mean by you didn't have to see them anymore? I want more info. That is so scary. And they respond, she did. I don't have any explanation for that. My mom, as many problems as I have with her, is a very intuitive person. She probably has some level of ability to see dead people, quote unquote, as well, but I don't know. Later in life, she shared with me an experience she had in the same room. My sister and I were both in pageants as kids, Southern mom in the 90s. My older sister wanted to wear a pageant dress out for dinner, and my mom told her no and to take it off. She continued getting herself ready, and out of the corner of the eye, she saw my sister dart down the hallway into the bedroom, still wearing the dress. She came out saying, I told you to take off that dress. Only to find the bedroom empty. My sister's waiting in the living room with the rest of the family, wearing a sweater and jeans. Years on, a family friend came to pick up their daughter that we were babysitting. She was talking to my mom with her friend in the back hallway. All of a sudden, she turned around and said, I see you, thinking her daughter was creeping up behind to scare her. There was nothing when she turned around. When her daughter and I came out of the TV room, she had a full-blown panic attack. She swore up and down that she saw a little girl behind her. She never brought her kid back to play after that. So, safe to say, we had a little ghost or something. My mom probably had more experiences with her than anyone else in the house. Oh, they do say my mom seems to be a conduit for those kinds of experiences. I would like, sorry, Bettina, I bring you up in almost every episode. What was Bettina just talking about at our book club picnic? How, like, her mom invites certain things, and it always comes in the form of a little girl.
Yes, but I don't want to butcher what she said, so
No.
I don't want to try.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Basically.
I wonder if that is like a mother thing.
Yeah.
Like, especially a mother of daughters.
Mm-hmm.
If it's kind of like a stress thing,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'm not
a mother.
Also, I don't have a brain, so I have a brain, I guess, but I have one cell, and he's working overtime all the time.
Yeah.
But
I'm just imagining a little hamster running so fucking fast.
it's like literally dying. There's nothing left on its body.
It's like running, it's just like...
It's just constantly throwing up because it's so overworked. It's skeleton. It's so sad. It's almost rabid at this point because it hasn't had contact or food or water for so long.
Poor little hamster.
Poor little hamster. But I would be curious to know from people who study the brain if it is something that's like, or maybe it is a ghost thing and ghosts take form of little girls to moms easier.
Yeah, if you're a mom and it knows you have little girls.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's, like, different, not always ghosts. They'll try to find a form that is most acceptable to the person.
Yeah.
So
they
it
don't
could
seem
be
as scary.
cats and different things like that. That's why you're not supposed to pet a cat in a cemetery because it could be something else entirely.
I didn't know that.
I learned that on a ghost tour in Charleston. We were going around. It was more of a history tour.
Yeah.
But we went by a cemetery, and there was a cute little cat. And the guy's like, don't touch it. He got very serious. And he's like...
Interesting.
It's like squirrels, cats, even dogs in a cemetery. You're not supposed to pet it because then it'll transfer to you.
See, now I'm just thinking about that guy that we talked about who tried to conjure a demon. I really need to look him up because
I don't know what happened.
I really want to know what happened. And
He's just sitting in a cemetery petting all the cats. He's like, come on.
He's covering himself in catnip. He still has a Ouija board out. He's talking. He has all of his candles lit. He's doing blood rituals. There's cats all over him. Crows cawing in the sky. Come on! Why are you waiting? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
All the demons are sitting around him and they're like, hey, this guy is like
I don't want that one.
weird. I don't know if I want his body. Maybe we go somewhere else. But
I think there's another cemetery around the corner. Do you guys want to try that one?
Yeah.
This is that girl scaring that man when she looks for her cat.
oh my god.
They're like, maybe not this one either.
Oh. Anyway.
But yeah, that's my thought. Like, what if it is either an imaginary friend trying to make a friend, or a demon that appears as little girls because it knows your mom has little girls and would accept them. Not that you asked me what it was. Or, I guess, a ghost.
Or what if it's like a paradigm and it's another girl playing with her dollhouse in a different timeline,
Ooh, I like this.
and she is moving her stuff around, and the other girl like looks down and sees her through.
Yeah, and she's peeking over and
portal.
she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like a time paradox. They're same, one and the same. It's
I like that
where you
theory.
poke a pencil through the
Patent this. We make a movie where you think it's imaginary friends, but it really is paradigm time slips and it keeps happening.
That'd be scary.
So they have imaginary friend.
yeah.
Like, hey, why
What
are you
if
here
you're
again?
fake?
I might be. I have, like...
I can touch you. So
That doesn't mean I'm not an NPC. You know? Do you ever think about that sometimes?
I do. I thought about that a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, a ton when I was a kid.
I have heard that this is a lot with like neurodivergent people, but thinking that you're like the only person, or,
Yeah.
like, and you're like all of these other people aren't actually real, and they're all like made up by your own brain.
Yeah.
Kind of, and you're just like, you're a blob living in space, essentially, and everything is made up.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Like, I know this is going to make me sound like an asshole, but I'd never had the thought that maybe someone wouldn't like me because I was like, no one else is real.
I don't know how that I'm like, everybody hates me.
Yeah. I was the most Leo a Leo could be. I'm like, in my world that I made up in my brain, now we're good.
Yeah. See, I feel like I'm the Leo, but in the opposite way, is I'm like, everybody's looking at me because they hate me.
No, I'm like, everyone's
And
looking at me
nobody's
because
looking at me.
as they should be.
Yeah, fair.
No one is looking at me.
Yeah, I'm like, nobody's ever looking at me, but here I am. I'm like, I think people are watching me when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I think like very like Truman Show is happening.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All the time. I'm like, I may be completely by myself, but there's somebody.
I'm never
somewhere.
alone.
Yeah.
By myself, not alone.
No. No. It's always really hard when I want to. So.
Yeah. It does. It's like under the blanket.
Yeah. Well, even under the blanket, I'm like, somebody's in here watching me.
Yeah.
Somebody knows what I'm doing.
I feel like reality shows didn't help that thought.
Yeah.
Because they do just like put cameras places and then you can just see them existing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's how it is in the show That Is My Life that people watch.
I used to want to be on Love Island
Yes.
so bad. I was like, I was born to go on Love Island. I
Yeah.
would be so good on Love Island. And then I really think about it, and I'm like, no, you would not be.
Yeah.
You would hate it. You'd actually go crazy. You'd probably go into a psychosis because being around all of those people 24/7 and having your movements and what you say and what you do monitored 24/7.
Yeah.
And you're constantly socializing. You don't have any space for yourself, any space to decompress. You're in the same room while you go to sleep. You're in the same room to shower. You're in the same room to do everything.
Yeah.
I'd go crazy. Absolutely insane.
Yeah. I think me in my early 20s could have handled it.
Yeah.
Now, no desire.
Yeah. I
I'm too
think
sleepy.
21 I might have been able to because I was
yeah.
really...
That's borderline what I was doing anyway.
Story 2. My trip to the slaughter yard. A story my mom wouldn't tell me until my 30s. So, let me start out by saying I enjoy writing, so this will be long. It is nonfiction though, but will hopefully be an interesting read. I also admit that I have absolutely no memory of this experience. I was a little over 2 years old and just started to walk on my own when this event took place. My mom only told me this story around 3 years ago when I was 32 and about to get married. My mother was raised in a very tiny fundamentalist Christian community and had no belief in the paranormal. She believed that our souls sleep until Judgment Day or something like this. Ergo, there was no ghosts or spirits to haunt this house. Even over 30 years later, she still sounded terrified as she told me this. This woman, who always talks way too loud, was literally whispering by the end of it, and she was white as a sheet. I believed her completely and still do. My mom never talks about stuff like this. I'm just glad I can remember it too. In 1988, my parents had their second child. This was my brother, Victor. We were very crowded in our rented flat with 2 babies. My parents decided to move to a rambling old 2-story farmhouse on a 7-acre plot in southern Ohio for more room for the family. It was way out in the sticks and took almost an hour to get to town from there. My dad said the first time I saw the house, I freaked out. I was crying and saying things like, "Don't like mean house, ugly house, don't like, scary house, mama, don't like." My mom said this behavior was very out of character for me, but I stopped complaining about the house after a few weeks, so she chalked it up to the stress of the move. Now, this house was a ramshackle and in the middle of nowhere. The kitchen was to the far rear end of the house until recently before we moved in, still had a working ancient wood-burning stove against the back wall. This had caught the back wall on fire a couple of months before we moved in and caused a lot of damage. A lot of this damage wasn't fixed, so my young, broke parents got a very cheap rent agreement. Gotta love the 80s. On the second floor, directly above the kitchen, was a locked room. The landlord claimed it had heavy fire damage, but her son, who had done the repairs, claimed the only fire damage left was in the kitchen, since it had been the worst and beyond his skill level to fix. Either way, the landlord was adamant that the room was off limits, and my parents always respected that. I would have looked 100%. I know all of this because I heard stories about this crappy farmhouse with the creepy door my whole life, and there were pictures of us in and around the farmhouse. The locked door was right next to the upstairs landing, so there was no avoiding it, and both my parents have told me it gave them the creeps. A few months after we moved in, my mother and I were in the yard with our pit Doberman mix, Boss. She was hanging laundry, and I was rolling around with the dog. She said that just as she noticed that everything was way too silent, Boss started going apeshit from surprisingly far away. About 500 yards from the house on the left, there was a small duck pond. Boss was in between the two, running towards my mom, then turning and running back towards the pond, barking frantically the whole time. My mom saw something thrashing around in the middle of the pond. She took off towards the water at full speed. Boss beat her there and drug me out of the water himself. Although my mom was confused how I got so far so fast and how I got into the center of the pond since it was over my head and I couldn't swim, she figured she underestimated me and brought in the baby gates and playpens. I was to be contained from now on. A few weeks later, she was cooking downstairs, Boss was outside, Victor asleep in his crib, and I was in my playpen in my room upstairs. I also had a gate on my door and one at the top of the stairs. The stairs ran up from the side of the kitchen, so my mom said she could listen for us crying or fussing while cooking. My mom said no longer than 15 minutes after the last time she looked in on us, Boss starts going crazy again in the yard. She runs up to check on us. Victor's still sleeping, every baby gate is still shut and locked, but I'm not in my room. A frenzied search reveals I'm not in the house at all. A sudden image of Boss saving me from drowning causes my mom to rush outside to see what he's trying to tell her this time. She said he was running in circles in the yard, barking uncontrollably. When she got outside, he took off towards the right, away from the pond. He would run ahead, turn around, and bark at my mother, wait for her to catch up a little before racing off again. He ended up leading her almost 1.5 miles out onto a dirt road that separated our property from the neighbors. He led her to a thick stand of trees on our neighbor's side of a rocky drive. She said what hit her first was a foul stench of advanced decay. She plowed into the trees with her heart in her throat and her stomach full of ice. She said she had noticed many piles of corrugated tin, tarps, tires, and other debris. The miasma was emanating most strongly from these junkyard cairns. Peeking under the sheet of tin, she noticed the extremely decomposed corpse of a butchered cow. As she headed deeper into the thicket, there was tree cover that was a lot denser. She said less care was taken to cover the remains. Grisly pieces of bones and rotted chunks of bovine littered the area. Apparently our neighbor, in an effort to cheat his taxes, had been illegally slaughtering cattle and hiding the remains in at least one of the few thick stands around the trees. She found me in the dead center of this thicket, just standing there, looking around. I was confused, surrounded by carnage. She said I didn't seem scared or anything, just standing. She rushed over to me after ascertaining I wasn't injured, began questioning me on why I was there, how I got there, etc. Keep in mind that while I started speaking very young, I still didn't have much vocabulary. She said I told her, with that serious look only small children can give, that the children brought me here. Shitting her pants at the thought that anyone, even children, could walk right past her through the kitchen, get me from upstairs, and walk right back past her on the way down the stairs and out with me. She demanded to know what children and where the hell they were now. I looked at her dead serious and told her the ones that live with us in the room at the top of the stairs and that I didn't see them anymore. After a moment of stunned silence, she started asking all kinds of questions about these children. However, she told me I refused to say anything else. She said as long as she questioned me about what happened, I would just stand there staring at her with a serious expression and my mouth closed. She said this same pattern held true every other time she brought it up to me. She was always left wondering and immediately began hounding my dad about moving closer to town. While the incident with me getting to the pond was highly unlikely, it was at least remotely possible. My mother was adamant that me being in the hidden slaughter yard that day was flat out impossible. She said there's no way I could have even known it was out there, much less have the ability to open and relock the baby gates, get downstairs, past her, and end up almost 2 miles down the road in this place in under 15 minutes. I was only 2 and as slow and clumsy as most toddlers. As I said, she's still shaken by it after 30 years. Personally, I have no idea what happened that day. I've thought about hypnosis but haven't decided I really want to remember. Maybe it's better to let it be a mystery because whatever those things were, I really don't think they were children.
Definitely not children. I would say, okay, so I worked at a preschool with 2.5 to 3-year-olds. I would give them a little more credit. They're not as, like, clumsy and slow as a baby would be.
Yeah.
They can move quick.
Yeah.
And they're smart and they know how to figure out things and then they know how to get over things. That being said, definitely not enough time for you to walk 2 miles, no matter how fast your little legs were moving.
Yeah.
But 2-year-olds aren't as dumb as that. It's like, oh, dumb baby can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they're agents of mischief who are actively trying to cause it at every corner.
Yeah.
So.
I would, like, climb out of my playpen and crib all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, moving 2 miles into a thicket in a forest.
Yeah.
No, no way.
Ain't no way, ain't no how.
But I do want to know. See, this leads a question of things that we don't know. How get there? How get there? Is it just like, pop? Like, you know? Is there kid somewhere else immediately?
Yeah.
Is that how it is?
If we're keeping this, like, grounded in reality,
Okay.
this is not the nicest thought.
Oh.
But what if they were kidnapped and dropped off somewhere? And it's not paranormal?
Yeah.
The water could have been, like, a fluke that happened close to when this happened, but...
Yeah, the water is definitely plausible that the kid just, like, pew, like, ran into
it. And if there's, like, a little bit of circulation, it's not going to take much to float you out, depending on how long you were there.
Yeah. Although, if we are thinking that it's just, like, you know, then it could have just, like... Yeah, literally just, like a... Like when you grab the customers in like Roller Coaster Tycoon and stuff, and they're just like
literally that.
And you like pick them up.
How do you live in Zoo Tycoon?
Dude, honestly, I would love to be an NPC in Zoo Tycoon or Roller Coaster Tycoon.
I would not. I know what I did to those people.
Oh yeah, you would just like build a cliff and then just like have it end. You go to a sidewalk and then you delete it.
See, I would just be like, no bathrooms and trash cans. And I thought that was crazy.
Oh.
I have since seen what other people have done. I was like,
yeah, you like make the roller coasters that are like... Yeah.
Yeah. I love playing that.
I still play it. I've started playing I haven't started. I beat Planet Coaster, but...
Yeah.
But they came out with a Planet Coaster 2 that I really wanted, but the reviews are really bad, so I was like, I'm not going to get it. But... But anyway, this would be terrifying as a mother. Again, I go back to The Conjuring.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this makes me think of, is The Conjuring. Old-ass house. Ohio's not really, like, the Northeast, but it's close enough, I feel like. Because, like, Ohio and Pennsylvania are really, like, literally right next to each other. Mm-hmm. So, I feel like it would make sense. I don't know. But, nonetheless, it is so terrifying. I could not imagine wandering around and being like, where's my daughter? And then you walk into a giant forest area where there's just like dead cow carcasses everywhere.
Yeah. Shout out to your dog, Boss.
Yeah.
Great dog.
Boss.
Great name for a dog that saves you.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah. Go, Boss, go.
Amazing dog.
Amazing little guy. What a good guy. Give it up for Boss. I'm glad the dog didn't die.
Yeah.
Because that always happens in these kinds of
It
stories.
does, yeah. Well, I mean, it was the 80s, so eventually. Wild. I want to know more about that room, too.
Yeah, I want to... Yeah, what was in that room?
Who was in that room? What's in that room?
Yeah.
I would have invited a bunch of people over and then looked. I wouldn't have looked by myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm a weenie.
There's like that Airbnb that Quentin and I stayed in when we went to Albuquerque. When we went to Albuquerque last year, and it had all of those like weird little doors, and there was like a door in the ceiling and a door in like on the floor. Mm-hmm. And I was like, where do all these go?
I hate a floor door. When I lived at my cousin's house, she has a house that was built in like 1890, and it has a little floor door cellar. Mm-hmm. And that's where her sprinkler hoses are, and she was gone at one point. And her boyfriend was trying to make sure everything was turned off. He's like, hey, would you mind just like standing right by this floor door just in case it slams shut? Because I don't want to go down there.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yep, I got you, buddy. I'm gonna stay right here.
Oh, yeah.
And then if it closes, I'll call somebody.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Okay. Things we don't understand and we will never understand. Why do some ghosts have full reign over the entire house? Mm-hmm. And why do some ghosts only have full reign over one room, like phasmophobia?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I wonder if there's any ghosts listening, let us know. I wonder if... Do you think residual hauntings take over just that area, or could that take up the whole house? Because I wonder if it's like a different type of haunting that would be just one specific spot versus...
I don't know, because that's the thing is that this is where we get into boundaries. Why are there boundaries in some ghosts? Like, okay, take the Lizzie Borden house, for example. The Lizzie Borden house is a perfect example of this. Downstairs, you have one ghost that's in the front room. You have another ghost that's in the back room. And then you go upstairs and you have one ghost that's in one bedroom. Yeah. And another ghost that's in the other bedroom. And it's like, why do they all have that? They can't go anywhere else. That's their room.
You know what I think it is? They've been roommates for so long that they are sick of it. So they've taken ghost chalk and drawn lines and boundaries. And like, you can't cross that.
This is my area. But see, that would get so boring.
Yeah.
After so long, you're stuck. If I was stuck in this basement.
If I was stuck in the stairs, in the stairwell.
Oh, in the stairwell, you're like, can I count the stair? 99 bottles of beer on the wall. 99 bottles.
I wonder if they like pull straws and switch every 50 years.
They get up to like 12,700 million 500 bottles of beer on the wall.
Yeah. That's what I think. That's why I think that happens.
Interesting. Yeah.
Based on no science.
That's so weird. Some ghosts haunt cars. Some ghosts haunt whole houses. Some ghosts haunt rooms. Some ghosts haunt parks.
Yeah.
What is the science behind it, you guys? Mm-hmm. Nobody knows. As Zach Baggins said, there are things in this world that we will never fully understand. Understand.
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy.
Damn,
that was wild. I don't know what that
crazy.
was.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Next story.
Story number 3. I think I might have encountered some sort of killer. I recently went on a date with a guy from my school who I met on a dating app. He seemed super sweet and charming over text, so I agreed to go on a date with him, especially after 2 friends told me they know him from a class where he seemed genuinely funny. We go to a small, pretty prestigious university, which also made me sure that he would be normal. He was supposed to meet me at 6 to go on a picnic, but ended up picking me up at 8:30. He texted me to reschedule to 8 and then showing up at that time. He drove me to his apartment, and although uncomfortable, I agreed to go in because everything I already knew about him. The apartment was only lit with 1 candle and a small glowing light on the floor, which didn't add much. It was a multiple bedroom apartment and he had lived alone, which made it even more odd. We talked and ate some food, and he seemed nervous and uneasy for most of it. He suddenly switched conversation to our deepest, darkest secrets and asked if I've ever seriously thought about killing anyone. After I said no, he made up a story about being in the Navy and having to bomb a ship killing 5 people. When I was unsure how to respond, he just sort of passed it off as a joke and said that he seriously thought about killing someone else, his ex's current boyfriend. I was extremely uncomfortable at this point and wanted to leave, and he agreed to drive me home. Before we left, he said he wanted to show me something and pulled out a rifle that he pointed in my direction. When I got startled, he remained eerily calm and said he got it for hunting but couldn't think of even killing an animal. We left and I got back to my friend's place safely. Everyone I've told has been flabbergasted about how the date went, and I can't shake the feeling that something was off about him. It's creeped me out. And to clarify, I mean like something more sinister about him. Any thoughts on this would be appreciated. Okay, so I will say, this is why you have to be just like so hyper vigilant with dating. And if anything feels weird, the guy could not have bad intentions, but public places only, multiple people, you are your own ride there, you are your own ride home. You do not know this person.
Yeah. Especially when she was like, well, I assume that he was a good guy because he goes to this prestigious university.
No, that just means his parents have money or he's taking on student loans.
And I'm like, it's always the really, really smart ones that are like the creepiest, most calculated people.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, they have more, if they're going to that nice of a school, they have more pull. And I'm assuming that he's a white guy.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, and that's the prototype, not the prototype, but that's the staple, that's the picture of creepy guy that talks about killing people with a hunting rifle.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm imagining literally Joe.
Yeah. Well, I was just
Kind of
imagining,
cute, kind of funny, weird.
Yeah, weird, super weird. But yeah, that's if for whatever reason let's play devil's advocate for whatever fucking reason. I'm feeling generous. Why not? He was like, let me surprise her with this romantic dinner. I'll have a candle lit. I'll have really soft lights. Let's just go straight for the heavy stuff. Let's just talk about the really dark. And maybe if I let her know like my deepest, darkest side right off the bat, she'll decide if she wants me or not. And maybe he has really bad trauma from being in the Navy. And that's why he acts so fucking weird. And he got really nervous and said some weird shit. However, that I'm like, maybe he's just really fucking weird. I can maybe let him off with that one.
Yeah.
However, if he really was in the Navy and he is talking about how he had to do all that, he knows gun safety.
1,000%.
He's not ripping that rifle out and pointing it at her.
No.
On accident.
Yeah.
He did that 100% on purpose. And he was like, I never thought about killing an animal.
As he's pointing a gun at you, which if he's trained, he would not do.
He would never do.
Never point a gun unless you're willing to shoot someone.
Yeah, exactly. So that's actually so terrifying.
And like, it's not your job to be nice to people when they're weirding you out like this. You.
But the problem is, okay, and here's where it comes in being a woman again. I'm always talking about being a woman. But you get so much further being nice, because if she was mean and snappy, he could have made a lot worse decisions. Yeah. I mean, like, you're no better than my ex kind of thing. Yeah. So then it gets really scary. And see, this is hindsight 2020.
This is hindsight 2020, because, like, there's only dates in public places. There's you are your ride home. Like, a lot of guys will do that. Like, oh, let me, like, pick you up for our date because they want to be chivalrous.
Me Lee's ID the first time you guys went on a date together. Yeah. I was like, let me see that shit.
You have my location. 2 other people have my locations at all time. When I first went to Lee's house, I put it on Life 360 so you knew exactly where I was at. Because I was, like, sitting there thinking about that. I was like, if I'm gonna get got, at least someone knows where I'm at.
Exactly. Yeah. That's like my
127 hours. Always
Yeah.
let someone know where you're at.
Exactly. Every time I go hiking and I know I'm not going to have service, I'm like, this is where I'm at. Just so you guys know, this is what trail I'm. And Quentin does the same thing when he goes mountain biking.
Yeah.
He'll be like, hey, this is the spot I'm going mountain biking at, just so you know. So, and that's just going out into the wild and being afraid of a bear, you know? But
Tripping.
we have to be afraid of men anytime we go. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I don't mean to keep ranting about this. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
It's just like things that you have to be careful with because you really just, either way, because women could do it too. I wonder, statistically, they're like women don't murder as much. I think they just get away with it better.
Yeah, because they're smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And it's probably more premeditated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I was about to say, shout out and exposure to all those women murderers out there. I was like, don't say that. That's not what we should be promoting.
Somebody's listening to this podcast. They're like, yeah, represent.
Let's go. I've been waiting for this representation.
Yeah.
They make stickers.
Yeah.
Women kill too.
Anyway.
Anywho, we're not helping ourselves.
Yeah, no, but this is so scary. And you met on a dating app, so I'm like, out him to everyone. Report him on the dating app.
Are we dating the same guy? Insert your city here.
There was a guy when I was way younger, and this is a good story. This is not a bad story, but this is to show how dumb I was when I was younger. I would go to Austin a lot before I lived there. Just for funsies, because I was super young. I was like 17, 18, 19, you know? But, well, I guess I was 17 when this was happening. But I met this guy one time when I was down there on Tinder, and he had long red hair and a long red beard.
All right.
And big guy, you know? And it's not good because I was 17, so... but anyway.
Yeah.
But one time, I was taking a Greyhound down there, and the bus broke down, like, on the way to Austin. And so I had never met up with this guy, but we texted and talked all the time.
Yeah.
And I had almost met up with him the first night that I matched with him on Tinder. It was like 2 a.m. And I was like, do you want to come pick me up?
Yeah.
But then I fell asleep. But we were sitting at this rest stop, and I texted him and I was like, do you think you could come pick us up? We're like an hour and a half away. And he did.
Yeah.
He drove an hour and a half to pick us up. And then I drove with him to our hotel. And it was like, by the time we got out there, it was late.
Yeah.
And he dropped us off. And he was like, bye, have a good night.
That could have gone so sideways.
So bad.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm remembering this like after, because I'm like, this is actually weird. I went to a coffee shop with my friend, and we were hanging out outside the coffee shop in Austin, the same trip.
Yeah.
And these 2 guys were like sitting out there and like talking. And so we started getting to talking to them. And they were like, oh, do you guys want to hang out? And me and my friend Bree were like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm 17, she was 18. And like I had just turned 17 too.
Yeah.
Because I, like, ran away to Austin.
Yeah.
So I was like, my dad can't come get me now.
Yeah.
But they were like, do you guys want to hang out? We were like, yeah. And so we, like, got in their car. We don't have a car.
Okay.
We took a Greyhound down there.
Yep.
Our other friends are down there with us. But they're, like, off doing their own thing because the other girl could drive. And so me and Bree are like, yeah, fuck it. We'll go hang out with these 2 guys.
Yeah.
So we get in these guys' car, and it's, like, cluttered with shit in the backseat. Like, we're, like, kicking stuff around to get in the backseat.
Like, this is fine.
Yeah, we get in
Shove
the
the stuff.
backseat, and they're like, we're going to go to our house. And we were like, okay.
Yeah.
So we went to the house. We, like, hung out there, and, like, we just, like, kind of sat and talked. And it started getting, like, weird because they both were trying to like make moves on each of us. Like one of them was trying to get with me and the other guy was trying to get with Bree, and we both were like not into it. So we kept like moving away, and finally both of us were like, can you take us back to our hotel? Mm-hmm. They were like, are you sure? Like you really want to go home? We're just getting started. We're just having a good night. And we were like, yeah, no, we want to go. And we're like texting our friends. We're like, hey, please, like, keep a lookout for these guys.
Yeah.
And they ended up taking us back to our hotel room, but after, like, making us feel super bad the whole time.
Yeah. Gross.
So, yeah. That also could have gone really bad.
That could have gone really south. I do appreciate that we live in an age where you can just, like, discreetly call a car from your phone.
Yeah.
Because I've done that in weird dating scenarios. It's like, oh, actually, I'm just going to step outside. Gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there was this guy who I had over to my house one time, and I was getting, like, real weird vibes from him, and he was really forward, really, really forward. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. So I texted my friend, and she had a son, and I was like, hey, can you do something to get me out of this situation? Like, call me and say that there's an emergency or something.
Yeah.
So she calls me immediately, and she's, like, yelling on the phone so he can hear, and she's like, oh my God, you have to come quick. Like, John's in trouble. We're going to the hospital. Like, I need you here right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, slow down. It's okay. And I'm a bad liar.
I was supposed to say, I'm such a bad liar. I could not pull it off.
Such a bad liar. So I went back into my living room, and I was like, hey. And I start smiling as I'm saying it.
Yeah.
And I was like, my friend's son is in the hospital, and I really have to go be there. And he, like, really? And I was like, yeah. I have to go right now. Mm-hmm. And he keeps staring at me, deadpan, and he goes, okay, fine. And gets up and leaves, and I walk out because I'm getting into my car to leave.
Yeah.
And as I'm going to my car, he's like, is this real? And I'm like, or are you going to just block me after I leave because you don't want to hang out with me? And I was like, no, it's definitely real. And he was like, okay. And so he, like, gets in his car, and I watch him drive away, and then I immediately get on and block him on everything. And then I go get Taco Bell. And then I came back, and I ate my Taco Bell in peace.
Taco Bell for the win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, guys can come off so aggressively. And you're right. You don't know how they're going to take it when you're like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you kind of have to toe a very delicate line.
Yeah, because then you're like, even with just a guy who has no intention to truly harm you, but, I mean, you go out into public and you're going to a bar, and a guy comes up to hit on you, and you say, sorry, I'm not interested, thank you. Thank you very much, it's very flattering, but I'm not interested. You're an ugly fat bitch, and I didn't want you anyway, so get over yourself. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's like, I was trying not to waste your time. I didn't want to waste your money. Like.
Yeah. Insane behavior. Men, step your game up.
Yeah.
My bad.
Just take it on the chin and move on.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's thousands and thousands, and actually there's billions of people in this planet. There's millions of people in your town that you live in. Mm-hmm. And I promise you, if TikTok has proven anything, it's that there is someone out there for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how weird you are. There is somebody out there that's going to match your freak.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing.
I think it is really
nice. It's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. But don't tear people down trying to get to that person.
Right.
That's the thing.
Because at that point, are you even a person that your future would want to be with?
Exactly.
Because you're being a piece of shit.
Yeah. And if you want that person to have their best life, don't you want to be the best version of yourself?
Yeah. And, like, don't waste your time on wanting someone who doesn't want to be with you. That person's not meant for you. Move on, because someone else will.
Yeah. Yeah. Never force anyone to do anything. If they want to, they will.
Yeah.
Mic drop. But anyway, I'm glad OP got out of this situation.
I'm so glad you got out of there, because that's
So-
scary, because I do think he was going to kill you.
Yeah, no, that definitely, especially if you went on like another date or something, that there's no Dateline
If you
was
kept
waiting.
doing, you know what kind of date this is?
Dateline.
Mm-hmm.
Story 4. The Tooth Man. When I was about 6 years old, around 2004, my mom started taking my sister and I to Dr. Daniel's pediatric dental office. The dental center was located inside a giant yellow mansion that also doubled as Dr. Daniel's house. It was honestly gorgeous. When I first started going to the dentist, I was extremely shy and actually suffered from selective mutism and had a lot of autistic-like tendencies. Needless to say, I relied heavily on my mother's comfort and for someone to give me a voice because it was extremely anxiety-inducing for me to talk to strangers, especially men, for some reason. When my sister and I got called in from the waiting room, my mom followed us to the office until she was told by Dr. Daniels that parents were not allowed to be with their children, as it taught kids independence, to which my mom complied to. Once in there, he immediately separated my sister and I, and in reaction to that, I cried because I felt so scared. Dr. Daniels did not like crying, so he grabbed me and put his hand over my mouth and nose, shook me, and aggressively warned me that if I continued to cry and scare the other kids, he would make my situation a lot worse. Obviously, this scared me more, so I started to cry again. Dr. Daniels had enough and took me into the house part of his dentist's office where he screamed at me again, grabbed me by the neck, and shoved me.
Oh my God!
His hygienist, Judy, came over and told me if I continued to cry, she would spank me so hard I wouldn't know what hit me. Afterwards, he gave me a juice concoction and left me alone in his house for about 5 minutes until he took me back into the dental office and did work on my teeth. I guess I just instinctively knew that if I wanted to survive, I had to act like I was not terrified and hold on to the tears. All I wanted was my mommy. Aw. After my first appointment, my sister and I told my mom that we were scared of the dentist and that he was a mean man, but she took it as me being anxious, so we continued to see him. Each visit was just as terrifying. Every time we pulled into the mansion, my heart would just melt away inside of my chest. It was no longer pretty to look at. Every time he went into the dentist's office, or the tooth man, as he called himself, he always would have us have heavy dental work procedures done. We had seals done on several baby teeth and plenty of teeth removed, some with his fingers with no regards to pain level at all. And often, when having a tooth removal or seals done, your mouth had to be opened up with a retractor, and he would leave us there with the retractor on for about 40 minutes or so until he came to work on our teeth. Sometimes he would eat his lunch while we sat there with our mouth open. Probably one of the worst pains I've ever had in my life. I remember one time when I was about in the 3rd grade, I had been leaned down in the chair waiting for the retractor on for an hour. I was in so much pain I couldn't take it. I sat on the chair and tried to scream and cry as loud as I could. Dr. Daniels came rushing over angry as could be, took my retractors off, and then took me back into his house part again where he screamed at me for being a big baby and scaring all the other kids. I was so sad at myself because I hadn't cried in so long when he took me to the back to the dental chair and they pinned me down to my seat in a straitjacket.
Arrest that man! Captain! Arrest him! Captain!
He put my retractors back on and said I would have to wait longer because I caused such a scene. All I could do was shed silent tears and drool everywhere, and I couldn't even wipe it because he locked my arms up. Afterwards, my mouth would become so swollen and filled with rashes. It hurt to talk for days. It would leave bruises and swell as soon as I left his chair. He would often tell my mother I was a difficult patient if I so much as winced at his torture. Once he removed 6 of my teeth at once and I could barely eat. While he ripped out my teeth, he would often sing songs. It was very Sweeney Todd-like. When I was in 7th grade, I started getting some braces and we started seeing an orthodontist. Not long after that, we stopped seeing Dr. Dan and started seeing a new dentist who was actually nice. I had never known that getting your teeth cleaned didn't have to feel like going through a saw trap. I think my mom took us out of Dr. Dan's practice when the orthodontist looked at our dental records and saw a lot of unnecessary procedures being done on our mouths. Not long ago, I was having a conversation with a friend about our childhood fears and instantly mine went to the tooth man. Curious, I Googled him to see what had happened to him, and to my happiness, the practice was shut down. Also, left under his name was a Yelp page that was still left up. The page was filled with numerous 1-star reviews from former patients that were once abused as kids in his office, using the page as an outlet to express their trauma. I started to cry because their experiences were so close and some identical as to what I went through. It was so sad, but at the time, really validating to know I wasn't alone. A lot of procedures we went through were just a scam for him to collect money off our parents and our insurance. And now that I think about it, he probably was so adamant about us not crying and screaming for help because he didn't want the parents to hear to come up and see what was going on. I shake thinking about this. I really pray he hasn't opened up another practice somewhere else. I know it's hard not to blame the parents in this situation, but the truth is, the man was a swift abuser. For every bruise and swell we would have dental explanations that would make the parents feel stupid for asking. He was an authority figure. I don't blame my mom for not believing us. She knew he was firm, but probably thought we were confusing firmness with meanness. To be honest, even writing this torture was so wild it actually sounds made up. She eventually did come around. She's not alone, as there were hundreds and hundreds of parents that were duped and deceived by him. To Dr. Dan, please never let us meet again. And to any parent reading this, if you were ever told to not go in with your child to an appointment, something is not right.
That is insane.
That is, yeah, that's crazy. Do you remember when we watched that movie, The Tooth Fairy?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I think about. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But that is...
See, I haven't seen it, but I know there's something where Steve Martin plays a dentist, and he's, like, very over the top and is very much, like, gets off on causing people pain. And there's the whole trope that, like, dentists kind of like inflicting... I'm not saying all dentists.
Yeah.
But it is a common trope that they're like, oh, yeah, let me drill in your mouth.
Yeah.
This is wild. And, like, I could see as the parent being like, because a lot of people have anxiety around the dentist, being like, yep, you have anxiety. This is why you hate going. But, oh, my God.
I do wonder if the kids were like, Mom, he is grabbing our throats and our faces and smacking us around.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if the mom would even, like, listen to that because of the way the dentist was probably talking to them about it. They're, you know? But that's just insane that that's something that can happen because, I mean, those kids probably have massive teeth problems now.
Oh, yeah.
Getting
like
all of those procedures done.
I think that's one of the things that, in addition to many other things, happened to Gypsy Rose. She was given unnecessary dental procedures.
And now her teeth are all, like, messed up. Well, didn't she get veneers? I think she has veneers
I think so.
Yeah, she's... Have you been seeing the stuff, her drama on TikTok?
Not lately.
Oh my God. It is such a deep rabbit hole. She posted a TikTok the other day where she was talking about her ex while her, like, current partner was in the room with their... I don't know. It was a whole weird thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to this insane malpractice and abuse of these poor children and lifelong trauma. Who would want to go to the dentist after that?
This is giving... Who's the guy in Dr. Death? I don't remember what his name is. But it's just severe malpractice. And I wonder if he can just go somewhere else, open up another practice, and no one would know.
Yeah, especially if it wasn't reported or anything, then there's no way for him to not open up another practice, you know?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, that makes me sick. As a kid, I will say the dentist that gave me my shot for my first cavity, not great. Dentist after that, I was lucky that I had, like, good dentists. To the point I was considering either being a dental hygienist or being a dentist. But then I really thought about it. I'm like, not everyone actually, like, cleans their mouth.
Yeah.
So I would have to be I wouldn't be in my mouth all the time. I'd be in other people's mouths. And that's what nixed that for me.
Yeah. I loved the dentist as a kid, which is crazy because a lot of kids hated the dentist.
Don't you, like, hate teeth?
Yeah. Yep.
You are an enigma.
Yeah. No, I don't. When I was a kid, I loved going to the dentist. I loved getting my teeth cleaned.
Yeah.
I thought it was so nice. I hated the doctor. But now as an adult, I hate going to the dentist, which I don't. You know, it's hard to go to the dentist.
See, one of my top 3 fears as a child, it was clowns, old women, and cavities. So in my head, I was the dentist is going to keep me from getting cavities.
That's
So
fair.
I like them.
That's a smart.
Yeah. I also couldn't say cavities, so I
Relation.
called them cabbages.
I don't want any cabbages. I don't
was-
like cabbages.
Terrified of cabbages. Clowns and old ladies.
That's fair.
Which, very poetic, I'm destined to become my worst fear as a child because I will become an old woman.
I hope.
Anyway, Dan, that's crazy. I hope you went to therapy.
I
So,
hope
what
this
about those stories?
I hope this person like gets justice or something out of this because holy shit, that's so scary. I'm so glad that they got to go somewhere else. So how
about those stories, huh? I bet they really wish they would have known better.
yeah, I guess hindsight really is 2020, but you know what would help? People giving you a heads up so you don't have to think, man, if I had known any better. Like us telling you to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us. We're on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all of those streaming. But we're also on TikTok and Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, all at _the pod. So if you'd like to share your story, you can post on Reddit or email us at whatwasthat.thepod@gmail.com.
Yeah, then when we blow up, you can say you were part of the founding 200 followers, because right now we're at 121.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
first 200. Woo-hoo!
Imagine all the cool stuff we'll give out to our loyal followers once we... Wait. What was that?